click this or not. All right. So if you have a question as we're going through this, you probably have a raise your hand feature. Again, I'm getting familiar with this. This is a different platform than what I did last year. There's probably a raise your hand feature. We can experiment with that. But what I was going to say is if you want to, rather than type something in the chat box, if you want to unmute yourself, you can. I don't think anybody's using a headset with a mic in it. So if you leave it on, we'll just might get distracted by the background sounds. So if you want to unmute yourself because you have a question that you don't want to type out, then go ahead and do that. The only thing that I find that I don't like about this platform is the other one is my chat box. I can't make it smaller, and so it covers up some of my screen. So we'll see how that works. Okay. All right. So if you can look at the agenda, will somebody besides Jonathan, I know he's familiar with somebody, and Caitlin, you may or may not have a built-in mic in your computer. So how about Andrew? It sounded like I heard some background. Andrew, just play with unmuting yourself and see if you can say something if I can hear you. Or Jonathan, maybe you can, if he's, Jonathan, maybe you can unmute yourself and try to describe what you see on the, okay. Jonathan, go ahead and unmute yourself and just describe what you see on your end of things, and you know, maybe how to mute yourself and unmute yourself.
Hello.
Okay, I can hear you.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I'm trying to think. At the bottom of the screen, there's like a tool thing, like all these stuff that you do.
With an icon, like with the camera icon?
Yes, sir. Like on the bottom left, there's like a mute button and a video button.
Okay. All right, that's good enough, Jonathan. So anyways, you guys are free to, you know, a headset with a microphone is not that expensive. You have, you know, most newer computers have a built-in camera and microphone. So if you have those features, you're free to use those. But again, if you don't, we can get away with just using the chat box as we progress through the year. Okay, so let me test my writing tablet. I haven't used it in a long time. All right, so if you look at the agenda, that's the first thing, using Zoom. And that's what we've been kind of playing with, is Zoom is the name of the platform that we're using. Last year I used what is called WizIQ. All right, so I think just by trial and error, you can kind of figure out how to do this. Everybody got on, everybody can hear me, so I think we're okay. Any questions so far? Just go ahead and type yes or no before I move on to number 2, what is geometry? Andrew said no, Caitlin said no, sir. Jonathan said, oh, we got, oh, yeah, okay, good, Jordan's on. So I'm assuming that maybe Jake is home folder. Jake, is that you, yes or no?
Home folder, yes, Jake.
Jake. All right, so somebody's on. I can hear some background. Is that you, Jonathan?
Uh-oh, do you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll mute it.
Oh, no, sir.
Well, go ahead. Okay. All right, so, you know, and I'm not sure what Jordan heard. So as far as navigating through Zoom, Jordan, if you're not using a microphone, but you have a mic on your computer and you have it on, other people can kind of get distracted with background music, so it's just best to keep it. Okay, so you've been here the whole time. and you're muted. So Jordan, does everybody feel comfortable so far with what they've seen as far as understanding how to participate? Yes or no on your chat box? Okay. All right. All right. So there's not going to be any test on this, and again, we'll get familiar with it as we go. Again, on my side of the things, I'm concerned about this chat box being so big, but it'll be all right. Okay. So everybody can see the screen. It says agenda. Math adds value to your life. You see a chalkboard there with c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. Okay. So do you have trouble seeing, like, on the far left or the far right? Somebody said shrink it. Shrink the picture or shrink the whole screen? Jake, what were you talking about shrinking? Yeah, I shrank the chat box some, but it at some point it stopped. I grabbed the corners and the sides, and it only got it didn't get as small as I'd want. Okay, but back to the question about the screen. Can everybody see, like, my cursor is moving around in a circle on the right? Can everybody see that? Okay. All right. So, okay, back to the agenda. What I wanted to do today, we're starting off slow. Just like I said in class, we're just going to start off slow because you're not only going to learn geometry, but you need to learn how this class works. Besides Jake and Jonathan, they haven't done a hybrid class like this. So that's why I spent all of class period talking about the ins and outs. That's why you have the paper. That's why I gave you that assignment yesterday and so forth, just so you can learn the expectations and how to function and so forth. All right, so let's talk a little bit about geometry. And again, my point being is we're not going to get into a whole lot. We'll talk about some basics of geometry, and then we'll go look at the LMS as far as you guys getting your instruction and using the calendar and submitting assignments and so forth. All right. So let's just first start by talking about what the word geometry means. Okay. Geometry is a branch of mathematics, okay, just like algebra is, just like calculus is, concerned with the properties and relations of points, lines, surfaces, solids, and higher dimensional figures and so forth, okay? I think it's interesting just to learn the value of studying words and so forth. Where does our English word geometry come from? Okay. It originates, if you see here, it originates from the Greek. Okay, it's a compound word where you have G, which or G-O. You have geography, G-O is Greek for earth, and metria. What does anybody type in? What is metria? What other word whatever other word in our English vocabulary can you think of that might have its roots in the word metria? Somebody type it in. Okay, good. Jonathan said measure, right. Does it say it anywhere there? Okay, so from the Greek we have geometria, and then from Latin, geo being earth, geometria, and down to our English word geometry. Okay, so G or geo means earth and metria means to measure. So remember, we've got the metric system. What is the metric system? It's a system of measuring and so forth. Okay, so geometry comes from the compound word to measure the earth. All right. Now, geometry was used, way before, what would you say, eons or ages, but ages ago. But a man named Euclid was the first to formalize geometry. Okay, he formalized it on paper in a book form. We're going to talk about Euclid's Elements later. Okay, but so formal geometry, or in a formalized way, doesn't mean that concepts like you've heard of the Pythagorean theorem, Pythagoras actually lived before Euclid, but he captured a lot of geometric principles and properties and so forth, and kind of formalized it as a study, as a branch of mathematics. But you were using, the Egyptians were building pyramids. Noah was building an ark. So algebra, math was used way before it was formalized. Okay, so that's a little bit about geometry. Let's talk a little bit more about the history of it. So you see a picture of, who's that a picture of? Somebody type it in. Anybody know who that's a picture of? Okay, good. Abraham. All right, good. All right, good. And I'm going to share a little story with you about it just briefly. I don't know that I'm going to read all that there. But so we were talking about Euclid. Euclid wrote a book entitled what we call Euclid's Elements of Geometry. Elements being the properties, the postulates and theorems of geometry that we'll talk about as we get into the course. But this is pretty much why geometry was formalized, or who the one who formalized it as a branch of mathematics. The interesting thing about Euclid's Elements is it's the most widely used textbook of all times. When the printing press was invented, who knows the date around that? Was that in the late 1400s? Anybody know when the printing press was invented? Yes, no, or a date? $1800s. I'm thinking it's before then. It's in the 15. No, yeah. Anybody can multitask on the computer? Maybe they can search it real quick. Yeah, Caitlin, I'm agreeing with you. I mean, because I think the printing press kind of ushered in the Renaissance and stuff. It was invented Gutenberg or in Germany, Gutenberg, Germany or something. Anyways, my point being, you need to, maybe you guys should email Daniel and ask him, Mr. Daniel, your history teacher. But anyways, I was hoping some of you CC people knew when the printing press is. Was that not on the timeline? You don't have to answer that. But my point being, again, that when the printing press was invented, who thinks what was the first thing that was printed in masses? The Bible, right. Gutenberg, okay, I thought Gutenberg was the place, around 1440. Okay, all right. And yes, the Bible was the first thing printed in masses. And since we're talking about Euclid's Elements, and I'm highlighting that, what do you think the second thing was printed? It was Euclid's Elements. And since then, it's been translated into so many languages. For a while there, still until maybe 100 years ago or 200 years ago, you weren't considered educated unless you had read and understood Euclid's Elements. Okay, and so I have a story here about Abraham Lincoln, and I'm not going to bring that up right now. I may do that. You'll probably hear about it later on. Okay, if you want to go back and watch this video and pause it at this point, you can. Not that anybody will do that, but you can. All right, so I'm just trying to give you a little background about geometry. Okay, and as I alluded to in class on Tuesday, I kind of think of how anatomy is the study of the body, the parts. If you look at anatomy and physiology, it's the study of the parts of the body and how they work together and so forth. It's the study of the body, and I kind of liken geometry as the anatomy of shapes and figures. Okay, so just for fun, we have this picture here, and we can see, we've got this man, and all we see is his skin and his eyes and his clothes. But underneath the surface, there's a lot more to him than that. Okay. And so when you go a little deeper, you find out how the pectoral muscle works as far as pulling and moving. You find that the properties of the muscular system. You find out how organs function and so forth. Okay, isn't that pretty cool? Ha ha! I think it's. I'm being serious. I think it's cool. All right, that we could do that. But how oh, a body has large and small intestines. What's their purpose? What do they do? A liver filters. So talking about physiology and anatomy. And to keep it short, I just say that geometry is the anatomy of figures. So in the course, we'll look at shapes and solids, shapes in a two-dimensional, like triangles, squares. Who knows what this is called right here? This thing has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides. Who knows what that is? So I type it in. Anybody know what that is? What's this? It's a polygon, but what's it called? Oh, come on. I expected somebody to know this. 6 sides. Hexagon. Okay, so you have polygon. Poly means many, gon means knee. These are vertices, like knees of something. So a polygon is many knees or many vertices. And we'll talk about what a polygon is, but you name polygons according to the number of sides. So hexa is a prefix for 6, so that's hexagon. Okay, so we just like with a body, we name the parts. We also name parts with figures, but then we also look at properties and so forth, and I'll come back to that. But then you have your basics. Okay, the basics of geometry is a point, a line, and then we have an angle. Even an angle, a point is just like a cell of the body. It's just one thing, where a line is made up of many points. And then you have like an angle. There's things about an angle. You guys now, you may think an angle is this space on the inside. Well, an angle is made up of 2 rays meeting at a common vertex. So the angle is not the space inside. It's these 2 rays intersecting. Okay, we have a line segment. Properties. Okay, how does a liver function? Well, what about these 2 line segments? Okay, that's terminology. What about these 2 line segments that intersect from the vertices? Okay, well, this is a square, all right, and with a square, the diagonals intersect at a right angle. Okay, so we're going to look at the anatomy, so to speak, of shapes and solids. A solid, can somebody name a solid? Anybody know what I mean by a solid? Give me a solid that we might study. See if anybody has any idea. If you don't, that's okay. Okay, good. A sphere. A ball is a sphere. A rectangular prism, like maybe a Kleenex box or something. Those are the things that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to deal with proofs. We're going to prove. How do I know? For every square, how do I know that all the diagonals intersect at a 90-degree angle? That has to be proven true in all cases. Is it true just for some squares, and so forth? So we'll be looking at proving things and developing. And the thing that I like about proofs is because I'm big on developing critical thinking skills, being able to think logically, and hopefully we'll be able to get into proofs enough where that is where we'll be able to do some of that. Develop some good thinking skills. All right. So any questions on geometry or comments before we go on to the LMS? So again, the goal here today in us meeting online is just to, get familiar with what we're doing and not require much of you guys right now. Any questions? Say yes or no, so I know you can still hear me and I'm not talking to myself. Ooh, I'm a sire. Kaylin said no sire. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I think a sire, isn't a sire like a horse that anyways, I won't go any further with that, but all right. Okay, so let's go, let's talk about the LMS, the learning management software, what we're doing online. Okay. Any questions from the start about this? You've gotten on and you've already developed some questions. Any questions? Some horses are nice. Most horses, I would agree, not all horses. All right, so we're getting a little sidetracked, but that's okay. All right, so right here, I'm signed on as a mock student. The geometry class looks a lot different than the algebra class because my algebra class is already built. My goal for the summer was to get ahead with the geometry stuff, which I have not. Hold on, I'm reading a message from, let's see, it says, please move this window away from the shared application. Are y'all seeing everything okay? I'm not sure what they're talking about. Okay. Okay. So you're not going to see as much as you would as the algebra one. All right, but the lessons page, okay, that's where you're going to go to start your instruction. Like I said in class, the first place you'd probably want to start is, you may start at the calendar, okay? So if you go to tomorrow, you see that you've got an assignment. You need something to do with the chapter 1 vocabulary. All right, let me back up. Notice here, I don't know if this is how any of you guys logged on, but notice here we've got a reoccurring thing, our online class at 11 o'clock. So if any time, I think this link is going to work every time. So one way for you to sign on, and you may have other ways you can do this, copy and paste, save the whatever, but you can go and you can click on that to get on for the Thursday class. Do y'all see that pop up? Upgrade to Pro? Do y'all see that? Do you see it too? Okay. All right, so for example, okay, you've got chapter 1 vocabulary, okay? And you won't always see these many details as we progress, but just to get you started, usually there's not a description when you click.
Mr. Ken.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're all seeing gray. We aren't seeing your screen.
Oh, I wonder
if the time is up.
No, I've got 9 more minutes. It must have been something when I don't know, maybe when I switched screens. You guys see that? Okay. All right, so there's the calendar. This is probably the best starting place, is a calendar, and you see on Friday that you've got something on the calendar. You look at, okay, what is it? And like I was saying, usually you won't have multiple details and you won't have to click on it. You can just at first glance, you can see it. All right, but here, so for Friday, you've got an assignment. I'm not going to read it, but it's to copy vocabulary. If you think about it, I told you on Tuesday that the note-taking guides, which rely on the instruction, the format of it, are not available. Hopefully I'll get them today. So there's really not a lot I can get you guys doing yet. But so chapter 1.1 vocabulary is something that you need to do. So what you're going to do, everything you need video-wise, file-wise, is going to be on the lessons page. Okay, and so this, you know that you're in chapter 1, so you click on chapter 1, and right now all you see is a PDF file there. Okay, and if I were to open that, I would see the vocabulary that I'm asking you guys to copy. Okay. Eventually, you're going to see videos and little little blurbs about the videos and so forth. Okay. So for today or tomorrow, I don't know if I put on the calendar, but there's really no need for you to have this actually done until Tuesday's class. but you don't want to get behind because I'm going to be asking some things of you Monday, hopefully. Hopefully I'll be able to get the note-taking guides to everyone today or tomorrow. And so, don't put it off and say, oh, this is not due till Tuesday, because there's going to be other things I'm being asking you to do. Speaking of things I've asked you to do, you guys did great. For those of you that did the assignment, you guys did great on it. I was very pleased with your answers and the fact that you got it done without any trouble and so forth, so that was good. All right, so we're trying to learn about the LMS. Again, you'll get a feel for it as you go. That's why we're kind of going slowly. Some of it's self-explanatory. Usually when you go to the lessons page, you'll find you'll see whoops, went to the wrong one. And that's kind of what the lesson pages will look like. If you see, you see some words and you see some videos and stuff. But if you go to the chapter, there'll be breakdowns here, and you'll see your assignments as well. But you can also, you can click to news and see what, things I've posted, but you should also see it on your right column when you sign on. You can go directly to assignments and look at your assignments. Maybe there's a, if you're resubmitting an assignment like we talk about or something, you can go directly to assignments. You can access assignments directly here or from the lessons page. Okay. Also keep in mind, for those of you who are maybe taking world history or speech and debate, your calendar, like if I go to the dashboard, I'm going to go to the dashboard. I've got two. Again, a mock student, so I've done both. Actually, let's go to the algebra page real quick, because I was talking about it being more filled. So, for example, here's chapter 11, and I'm still working on rearranging this for the new class. Things are loading, but this is kind of like what a page will look like. Okay. And for me, for you, you may see the actual color of video, but since the files are on my computer, they're just black. But for you, they may show up. I'm not sure. Okay, but I think you can figure things out just by navigating around. And this is where I'm trying to figure out what order I want to put the stuff. I lost my chapter 1 stuff, so I'm still building it. Okay, thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I've got to tweak some things. Let's go back to dashboard, because what I was going to say earlier is that you can, with your calendar view, if you have multiple classes, you can make it where you can see all classes on one calendar. Okay, and if you saw what I did, is I just I clicked on the calendar up there. Okay, and there's different views, and your boxes are in the way, so I can't really see everything. All right, so we've got 3 minutes left. Again, this will be fairly easy once you've done it a few weeks, for a week or so. Any questions? Any questions about what's on the calendar right now, about getting started? You can turn your mic on, or you can type something. Again, you'll see more things probably by tomorrow. I hope to have some of the days filled out for Monday and Tuesday and so forth on the calendar. You guys, just so I know that you're following me, just type yes or no. Yeah, that's right. You brought that up for me. Yes, I'm going to, Andrew, I want to try to get the whole calendar filled out, by the end of this weekend for next week. Will you have online access, Andrew? Okay. All right. Yeah, so I will try to get ahead as fast as I can. So let's see, as far as getting ahead. So when are you leaving, Jonathan? Okay. All right. So yeah, I don't know what to tell you as far as definites, Andrew, but I'll get ahead as far ahead as quick as I can, in the midst of juggling the other things. And you know, I'll work with you one-on-one too. We'll figure something out. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, you guys did great as far as you know, being able to navigate and follow along with me. Again, if you want to get a microphone, they're not that much. You know, if you deal with Amazon, you can probably get one for like $15. Okay. Um, all right, so I guess we'll sign off. It was good hearing from you guys, and so Nathan will be with us next week. I know he had a prior something or other. I don't know what it was. They're out of town. All righty, you guys are free to sign off. I will talk to you, see you, smell you later. All right. Hopefully you smell good.